Hey, this is Jeremy with Outfast, and we wanted to walk you through the emergency process for repairs when we get notified that there's something going on. So we sort of classify the emergency, usually it's something that's going to be related to water. It could be a flood from a storm, broken pipe, could be electrical. Most of the time, that would be obviously something sort of safety issue, power lines, issues with the panels sparking, something like that, and then obviously fire. Those are going to be kind of be the three main things. There could be additional stuff that's caused by the storm that wouldn't sort of apply here, but those are kind of things that we take a look at, right? So when it comes to residents reporting maintenance that is an emergency, we have process set up, special phone number, routing system set up. So there are actual different vendors that we work with that are automatically notified on a round robin basis, as well as myself or property managers within the company. So we get that call at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Somebody live is answering, starting to take it in, notifying the team, notifying vendors, depending on what is needed to be done. And if it needs to be, people need to get out of bed, then we make that happen. If it's something that can just wait till, 8 or 9 in the morning, then that's something that we'll take a look at as well. But somebody's going to answer the call, address it. Obviously, we always have a property manager involved heavily on those things. So if it's an active water flood, broken pipe, then most of the time, fire could be a different scenario. Unless the flooding is really causing a high ticket repair, we're typically going to handle it with our vendors. There's a lot of restoration companies that would love to get involved, and they go crazy on their costs and crazy on insurance billing. So most of the time, I would say, unless something's going to be more than 5 grand, but I would say even more than like 10 grand, we typically don't see owners going through an insurance claim process on it. So it kind of depends. So a lot of times it ends up being self-pay. They don't want to bother their insurance premiums and stuff like that. And that's another reason why we will respond with our vendors. They're going to be faster. They're going to just work easier. They know how we work. They know how we operate. And so it could be a handyman crew or licensed contractors, depending on what we need to do. And but we're going to get on site, assess the situation, get an idea, stop the leak if it's a water leak, assess the repair. Do we got to rip up flooring, drywall? Did we get it fast enough where the resident turned off the water before we got there? Maybe we just need some blower fans and dehumidifiers. So we'll sort of take an initial assessment on what we need to do. And then of course for fire, it depends. Tenant's going to call 911, then call us, and most likely a fire company's going to cut off the electric possibly, and we'll have to deal with all that situation. So depending on timing, urgency, that sort of thing, we'll keep you guys updated when that sort of stuff happens, but we have a tight grip on it. A few times a year we get some sort of call that would be categorized as this kind of, top of the line emergency thing as well. And we'll discuss those things with you when they come up. And if it's a point where you may want to file an insurance claim or not, we'll go through those processes with you. If you do, we do recommend working with an insurance adjuster. We have one that we've worked with quite a bit. We've used on our personal properties where they work on a commission basis to get you the most money for a payout, to make sure that the insurance companies are not trying to shortchange you. So it's definitely something I would do on any insurance claim I ever sort of file, is using a public adjuster. But we'll help you sort through that if it comes to that. So it's been pretty rare. I mean, over the last 10 years, we probably had, I don't know, only like 2 or 3 fires, and only one was like a complete loss. And then the flooding thing is much more of what would happen on, backup. Backup could happen while residents are sleeping, floods from first floor to second floor. If it's a townhouse, you might get that. Or if it's a condo, neighbor above might flood below, that sort of stuff. So usually water related is what we see. We don't see a lot of electrical stuff unless it's storm related, knocks down power lines and tenant has no power. That's a little more rare. So it's kind of like, water is the most likely, then maybe some electrical, then fire is kind of like least likely, but always a possibility. So we have all the processes set up, vendors set up that we'll work with for a long time for emergency stuff to get an initial assessment. And just sort of the first step being containing whatever the issue is. And that gives us time to sort of reassess and figure out a strategy forward. Obviously, there's automatic costs to calling somebody out in the middle of the night. And there may be some costs that we're having to incur just to get the situation contained. So obviously that's going to be over our standard maintenance limit, which is typically $500. And for after hours calls, getting somebody on site, stopping the water, ripping out drywall, or whatever it is. So that's the only sort of caveat when stuff like that happens, where we're going to try to contain the cost, but there's going to be obviously automatic stuff to respond to that sort of thing. So we'll be taking it case by case basis, but gives you a little bit more insight into how we handle the emergency repair.